Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm T4 and today we are continuing to work on phase 2 of our fortress. As we can see in the background, I've got some guard towers up. I'm playing with the roof a little bit because I'm not 100% sure if I want to have ballistas like right on the guard tower, if I want them to have their own outcropping. So I've got a couple different designs sitting behind me, and the plan for today is I'm going to finish off this side. Finish off the top of this wall so it looks a little more complete, get the walkway for the guards done, get a guard tower up, and kind of decide on a final design for the ballistas. I also need to add a couple ballistas to the front, and we're getting close to the wire where I need to decide how I want to do the Lord's Manor and how I want to do this part of the city here. But that's the plan for today. If you want to see what happens, stick around, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons so that you can see what this place looks like when it's eventually done. Hopefully that doesn't take too long, but this project is getting bigger every time I look at it. So let's get into it. As we jump into the time lapse here, I'm also just going to remind you that I'm playing in hammer mode. I have it on peaceful, and I have the raids turned off. Now it's set like this because I've already cleared this map, meaning I've already taken down all the bosses up to the queen, and I'm basically just killing time until the next update comes out. So I hope that answers any questions that some of you have had. Now as we can see here, I am doing my towers. These towers are actually a 3x3 tower. They seem to be a nice fit for the build I've got going on so far. And personally, I love the way they're coming out. They don't take up too much space, but they still establish that feeling of defense. The only real tip I have for anybody who may or may not be trying to copy these towers is that you should do your stairs starting from the top down. That way you know they're going to land at the proper spot on the upper end. And if you need to, you can glitch steps and ladders and things like that into the ground at the bottom looking for that finished look. And here I'm just putting on the rest of the battlements for this side. I hadn't done them yet. I meant to do them in the last stream or last episode, but we ran out of time, so it became a part of this one. For those of you who feel so inclined, you could check out the description of this video where you will find my Twitch link. You could join the conversation and join the fun. I stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That's when I do most of the work on my builds. Now what you're going to notice here in a second is I actually don't finish this tower. Like I had mentioned, I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to keep the design I had been working with for my battlements for the top of the tower. I do eventually come back and finish it after I go and work on some of the other towers. Ballista, that's the word I was looking for. Ballistas. demonstration slash thought process of what I was going to do for my ballistas. Originally, I hadn't done it this way. This was me and chat talking about what might look cool. Now, because I am newer to building with these iron posts, I didn't know that the stone underneath them would not be supported properly, and this was actually a learning experience from me. Eventually, in a few moments, you'll see that I take out that bottom row of stone, and I only leave the stone that's between the iron. Now, I do eventually take these angled pieces out because chat pointed out that they don't look as good as I thought they would. And there you have it. This is the basis for the ballista setup I'm going to be putting on all of the towers. Now, this particular tower actually gave me a little bit of trouble, mainly because it's built on the corner and I didn't really follow a template very well. And when I went to the roof and tried to get the roof done after the ballista were in, it came out a little funny. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still having trouble accepting it, and there's a pretty good chance I am going to change it in the next episode. And you can see I'm just going back and forth between the towers to try and remember how I got it set up. Mind you, after doing the 6 or 7 that I did for this video, I'm pretty sure I could set up one of these towers in my sleep now. In fact, if you would like to see a video dedicated to how I built these towers, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to get one of those out soon. Another note, if you are going to copy this setup that I am using here, I recommend doing the bottom layer of iron posts first, because if you do the top, obviously they block your snapping points for the bottom. And just for clarification's sake, the only mods I am using in this world are eternal torches, and that's just so that I don't have to refill the many lights that I plan on using and am already using in this world. And here you can see we're starting that roof I was just complaining about. Basically, to my eye anyways, it doesn't look as clean as it could. So I'm probably going to go back and redo it a couple of times until I find a setup that looks a little bit better to me. Although standing here editing this video, I think I already know how I'm going to do it. Which is basically add another half a log and probably just square it off a bit better. As we can see, this tower is kind of just flying by. It was one of the easier ones because it was built with that 3x3 in mind, and I didn't have to deviate for any purposes, for any reasons. English be hard sometimes. And yes, as you just saw, we are in the 800s days. That was day 807 that just flashed on the screen. And here we'll go back to the tower that I started in this video. Now that I have a pretty good idea of what the tower should be looking like after doing the 4, I think it was, that I did. Now with this particular tower, I was having some structural issues because it's actually a little bit taller than the rest of my towers. Just because of the way it landed on the wall. Again, this is the wall that went downhill, and it was an easy wall to build. It's just some places are a little taller than others. So what I ended up doing was, as you can see, I'm running iron beams from the ground all the way up. That way they're supported all the way through, and I don't have to worry as much about stone giving out on me. And here we were actually just discussing whether or not the stone was even needed between the iron beams. We were debating just taking the stone out and having the ballista just sitting on top of the iron. But my counterpoint to that, although it would look pretty badass, was actually in the idea of defense that would give a potential attacker the opportunity to attack up through the iron. So I was trying to avoid that. I know it's Valheim and it's not going to happen, but I'm building this with a little bit of real world expectations in mind, or trying to anyways. So here I actually took down one of the wooden staircases that was at the front of my fortress or gatehouse, and I'm putting in a stone tower just because I feel like it matches the rest of the build a little bit better. However, there are 2 locations where instead of building full towers, I ended up just retrofitting the existing buildings, and we'll see those in just a moment. I'm surprised I left that bench visit in, probably because it's so close it doesn't really matter as much. I normally edit them out just to save a little bit of time in the videos. So what happened here is I actually have a half a step higher on my staircase, so I didn't need to add in the stone steps on this tower. And that's just because of the way the walkways interact within and around the tower. The staircase just ended up being a little bit higher. Yes, this is the one, this is the first of two that is a retrofit, where I probably should have just taken down the corner of the building and redone a stone tower, but this is the corner of my barracks building, and I don't know why I was so resistant against altering the building, but I was for some reason, so I actually ended up struggling with this a lot more than I really probably should have, but at this point it is what it is, and you'll get to see the ugly results here in just a moment. Although the one thing I will say about this particular posting is that the roof came out pretty good, and I'm probably going to copy it for the other roof that I was complaining about moments ago. And here's where most of the struggling come in. I wasn't really sure how to basically patch up this hole in the roof, and I was trying to hide the stairs, and it was a lot more effort than it really needed to be. But I do eventually get it done and looking somewhat passable as a build. So for anybody who has plans of making large builds in the future or doing something similar to this, I recommend doing all of your towers before doing any other building. And although this one is also kind of a patch job slash retrofit, I do like the way it came out. It's likely because the captain's quarters was just a little bit nicer to work with. It just worked out better in my eyes. As I'm sure you noticed several times, I almost blocked my own building view quite a few times. Man, I chew pretty quick in a time lapse. Now, in the off chance you are wondering, this time-lapse is 5 times speed, and if I remember correctly, this was about a 4.5–5 hour stream. Again, you can find the link in the description if you ever feel like joining me on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And then here's the final tower going in. This particular one was just to break up the distance between the corner of the captain's quarters and the one down by the river where there is no gate. And as you'll see in just a moment, this was again a time where I should have started the stairs at the top of the build and worked my way down, instead of at the bottom and then trying to make it fit up at the top. Now, when I was originally doing this setup with the iron beams and the stone, I was considering taking out the top layer of iron beams purely because they were only there for snapping points, but I decided to leave them because I like the way the ballista lined up. And just some final beautification on the walkway so that it's similar all the way around the fortress. After a couple of misclicks anyways. Now typically I don't build at night on stream, but I started to give in and build at night because time was cutting close between when I needed to end stream and what I was hoping to have finished by the end of the stream this day. In here we're just hooking up some gates and some fences for the training area that I intended to build for the guards. I'm just doing a couple of training rings, I guess you could call them, and then setting up a couple of like practice dummies. Eventually they will end up kitted out so that they have a little bit more of a realistic look to them in terms of something you may want to actually practice against. So this is a secondary ring that is purposely a little bit smaller so that it could be used for more technical specific type training between, say, a captain and somebody that needs a little more tutelage. And then again, just a couple of dummies for you to practice general moves on. And then as we come up the hill here, this is meant to be an archer's area, so there are no rings, but there is what will eventually be targets once I figure out how to make them look the way I want to. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you just want to hang around, we'll do a quick tour after I get this railing set up, and I'll let Stream T4 finish off the video. Alright, now let's do a quick tour of everything I've done today. I know it's easy to miss things when it's all in a time lapse or just a bunch of skipping around. So we've got our towers done. The guards are able to go up and down to the battlements or the ramparts anytime, any location where there's a tower. And they're also able to get up here to the ballistas. And I just, between chat and I, we decided to go with this formation for the ballistas. We just felt like it looked real badass, you know? But from each, you can walk from tower to tower without ever having to go down into what is going to be the city. And on this corner here, I've got 2 ballistas because you want to be able to see what's going on. I promise they're up there. Yeah, why would guards want to mix with peasants, right, chat? I did a little bit of remodeling in the barracks here just to make sure I could get the ballistas on this corner. So let's take a look. It's not perfect, but it'll get the job done. The guards are able to come up here to the tower and get on the ballistas if they need to. Hopefully it doesn't get too cold at night because it's like right into the barracks there. I added a tower here by the front gate. And I did a full stone tower because it's in the courtyard here. Or not the courtyard, the throughway. And then of course we got one over there, over the captain's room. If any of you remember. Oh, chat wants us to have a drink of water. So over the captain's room here, I added on another one. And then all the way around down this other wall, I got the battlements up, and I got this tower here. God, I love this cave. And that's it. That's our progress for today. Oh, no, correction. I also added in my training yards like I was talking about at the beginning of the video. We've got a couple of training yards here. Nice open space, but you don't want them to get too close to here and fall into somebody's yard or something. They can do some dummy practice on these. I'll throw some armor on them a little bit later. And then the same over here, I just have a couple of extra stands that are going to end up getting some nice cheap armor on them, probably the rag armor. And then up here, this is meant to be for archery practice. So I just got some targets up along the wall. Again, they'll get some armor. And then I decided to throw this railing on here. I originally was going to go with like that style of fence down there for the railing up here. But I figured I've got this railing everywhere else. I may as well, like it looks better to keep it similar in this case rather than splitting it up with a different type of railing. But that's it for me today. Thanks for joining me along. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.